Welcome to this edition of The Bigger Game. My name is Abir Rashid, and today we're here with Brian Hernandez from Sector 7, founder and lifelong entrepreneur. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Beezer. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I appreciate you making the time. It's went a long time for this show, so thank you for that. Thanks for you being a guest on this show. Thanks for being here.
Life happens, right?
It does. And we keep moving.
Yeah.
And so tell me about the bigger game. What does it mean to you, sir?
For me, it's figuring out whether what I'm doing, what's Brian 2.0 or 3.0, because every couple decades you go through a revision of yourself. At least I do. What is my, let's just say 3.0? Is it going to be? It's obviously helping somebody. I just am trying to figure out, am I going to help community or am I going to help humanity, right? Because they're very different.
So it's all about service. It's all about being there for others. That's the bigger game. Getting yourself out of the way and being there for other people. Wow, that's fantastic. So, Sector 7, your founder's journey, life journey, how has that played out so far in your life, or share something around inside of that so we can get a sense of Brian Hernandez?
Well, my cultural background is actually very mixed. So it's interesting because it's brought me into scenarios in which I can, adapt pretty well because my cultural background is mixed. And I have customers that, from every religion now, and every walks the earth, literally, between my hosting company and my local company. I literally interact with people across the world, and that's actually kind of fun because you get to learn things that you otherwise wouldn't know about people and cultures and how they interact with others. And that's been the most fun for me. And also getting to look in, being a technologist, I get to kind of see the backside of a business. There's businesses I would never start. People are crazy for continuing, and that's kind of interesting as well. But that used to be the most fun for me, but now it's probably the culture stuff. It's the most fun for me.
So as you've gone on this culture journey, what have you noticed? What have you come to appreciate?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that outside the U.S. and maybe certain parts of Europe, they lead with kindness and love, not necessarily with commerce, which is interesting.
Not necessarily with commerce?
Yeah, correct.
So it's not about business; it's about the individual.
Correct, or the relationship. Yeah.
So how have you applied that to your business, your life?
I applied that to actually everything. I build strong relationships and I break strong relationships is what I kind of joke around about sometimes. So I don't make it always transactional.
So give us an example.
Yeah. So let's say you have an employee and you're obviously paying that employee as an employer, right? And sometimes that employee needs something, right? I kind of look at it as you have a hat in the middle, you're sitting across from each other. Sometimes I'm putting money in, you're taking money out, but you're putting in labor into the hat and I'm taking that out. I'm using your labor, right? But oftentimes there are other things that people need or want or desire. In this particular case, it was a younger gentleman buying a house for the first time, right? So I put a deposit, I helped him with his deposit and as well as like his inspection, and I loaned him a trailer that we had, right? And I think he was more than grateful. Like I didn't have to do that. That was just something you help people, right? When you can help people, help people. I'm an older guy now. I'm not like unbelievably old, but I have resources available to me to help people and I don't mind using it, right? And so in that case, I put that stuff into the hat. he took it out of the hat, and he put a nice, you know, uh, card and a thank you and gratuity back in the hat. And actually, that was more rewarding than a lot of his labor. So, it's kind of, that relationship really went to the next level because of gratuity and him um, moving, not because of anything he did at work, which is kind of cool, right? So
Lead with kindness, and it's about the human being, like you said. And the thing I got from that is the golden rule, right? I can't give it away without getting it back from myself.
yeah, I mean that is a bit transactional, but it's true, right? You can give it away for a certain amount of time until something. It doesn't always have to be a one, I guess, a one-to-one relationship, and it doesn't always have to be the same thing. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? Your kids, your kids are the biggest cost of your life usually, right? In terms of financial, they don't give you back any money ever, right? That is not that's they give you love, and they give you hopefully kindness, respect, and a legacy of some sort. But typically they're not like, oh, I got to pay you back for my second grade education in private school, right? Or I got to pay you back for soccer practice. That's not, the relationship there is not money to money. It's money to love, right? So when you break that down and move it into other relationships, you'll notice that it doesn't always have to be the same thing going in as the same thing coming out, right? And reciprocated.
Yeah, you take it from the transactional to more the bigger scheme of things. So the bigger game, as you talked about, being there for other people, right? Being there for your kids. You're not necessarily buying love, but just being that figure and being that support, right? I mean, if you wrap that, what we're doing, paying for second grade, it's not really that. It's actually bigger than that, right? It's the support. It's the safe harbor for your kids, guidance, wisdom, whatever. It's like having the protection of your parents over you, right? That those things are priceless as things go. And so it's not really transaction at all. I think
Right.
that legacy is no way that you can buy a legacy, right? It's something that just materializes. That's excellent. So as you've done this and gone through, like you talked about your kids and your employees, and you treat them this way, what's happened to the culture in your house, the culture your business? What's that experience?
Yeah, so it's hard. We'll go business first. It's hard to replicate that on your next layer of management. That's what I realized. So I have strong relationships with the people that I'm interacting with, but I can't control how my managers are interacting with their subordinates, right? And my middle managers, so there's that has been hard to replicate. And I'm always open for suggestions on how to do that. But it's something that I don't think necessarily you can teach. I think it's something that either you have achieved some enlightenment in your life and understand it, or it's been pounded into you by your parents and you were raised with it. So I don't know if you can even, I don't know where to go with that at the workplace, but I have noticed, certain managers approach this subject very differently, and that's a product of their style and how they were raised, right, and what they've overcome. At home, uh, well, I mentioned earlier, drill it into your kids. We're taking that approach, hard love, right, but still lots of love. So,
And what's that generated? What's that created?
well, our kids, we don't have a bunch of entitled little rugrats running around. Even if we had $1 billion, we would still act like we're poor, and that's just um, my wife and I really see eye to eye on that. We don't need anything flashy. We don't need anything fancy. It's all about stability for us, making sure things are stable making sure there's no, major changes coming into our children's lives. Everything's just nice and chill. Nice. The train does not do speed bumps very well, right? Nor do we. So
what's in the results as you've seen in your kids as you've given them that stable environment?
appreciation, when something is given to our kids or someone is being kind to our kids, they have genuine appreciation, which is nice. It's not like, oh, I already have one of these and then you throw it away. That's right.
That's priceless, right? That humility. I think what you described there is humility. Actually, no matter what you have, it's about being humble and just keep moving, right? Even train. You talk about like stability, even train, right? I think that instead of what you're talking about, I think maybe for your consideration, maybe the word is humble, right? Because it's like when I'm at the top of my game and everything's working, do I get arrogant, right? And when everything gets, because we all go through our peaks and valleys. When we hit a rough spot, do I get all upset and forsake everything and everyone and think like, woe is me and become the ultimate victim to everyone and everything? Or am I stable and just humble through the whole process? Like talked about, that train doesn't do speed bumps very well.
Yeah.
So, and then your kids have picked up on that humility. It seems like when they get a gift, they're acknowledging the fact that someone was kind to them versus debating do I need it? Do I not need it? Do I like it? Do I not like it? None of that even applies, right? It's all about the other person and the thought they had when they gave it to me, which is huge.
Yeah, there's no Cold War of caring, and what I mean by that is, I'm sure you have at least one set of. Everyone goes through this where they have like they're buying a gift for someone and they're like they're not going to care. They have everything, right? We don't have a lot of that in this house, and that's very important to me that we don't. Whenever, occasionally if something like that happens, it gets corrected pretty quick.
Yeah, that's awesome. The going back to your first point about the business, right? And culture, spreading culture all the way down through the organization. One of the things I was reminded of is like NASA back in the 60s going to the moon, right? The vision was so big and so broad and so deep that everybody was, it was a race to the moon. Who's going to get there first? And so, it didn't matter if I bumped your shoulder or stepped on your toe. You weren't going to worry about that so much. You were more interested in, okay, how can I help you? All the little things that are huge. When the vision's small, all these little things become huge, right?
Yeah.
When the vision is huge, all these small things go away because they're just little things that I put aside because I'm more interested in delivering on the vision. And so many times that brings teams together instead of a bigger picture, right? If it's not big enough, then everyone gets real ordinary, in my experience. And the other side of that is somebody once told me that I hire on personality, not on skill set. I can train for skills. I can't train for personality. So this person was really focused on the personality of the person and determining if they were a good fit in the organization. And part of that was they would come in and you can tell, even with today with AI, it's so quote unquote easy to like fake yourself through an interview, right? Because you can just Google stuff or AI stuff, and now it's not even Google stuff. Now it's AI stuff, right?
Yeah, you don't even know if I'm a real person right now. I literally could be just an AI bot.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend once who went through an interview exchange with a potential hiree. 2 or 3 of them, was pretty impressed by what he saw. Brought him in, and they were in the hiring process and in this interview, right? And they asked him some questions, and he kept having his phone in his hand. He said, "No, put your phone down." And as soon as he put his phone down, he couldn't answer anything. It was an amazing situation. And I've had the other experience where a friend of mine was the hiree, and he walked into an organization, and he went through the requirements list on that on that JD job description, right? I know this, I don't know this, I know this, I don't know this. He was the least qualified candidate of everybody they interviewed, and they hired him. And so he asked him why afterwards, and he was like, because I can train for I can train for skills, and I can't train for personality. And if I know that, you don't know these things, I'm not going to put you in front of a client and screw this whole thing up. If people come here all the time and tell me they know stuff, they end in front of the client and then they screw up, and I can't help them and I can't support them because I'm blindsided as well, right? So he got the job. I think it doubled or something like that, his salary from where he was before.
Beautiful.
He learned a bunch of stuff, and just being authentic. And like you said, that whole cultural thing you were talking about, the kindness part, the authentic part, the humility part you've been talking about, right? All of that rolled into one.
Yeah, being genuine is, I never thought in my life would go away, right? But there's legit, like there's a portion of the population who is no longer genuine in any way, shape, or form, whether that be in the media, whether that be in politics, whether that be in AI, just making stuff up like as they go. I don't know, but it's just finding, genuine people who can just be straight with you has become a challenge.
Yeah, I think that is how we treat ourselves, and what we leave is part of legacy that you talked about with our kids. So how much of that we instill in our kids? Because you're right, there's always been a section of the population that has been that way, inauthentic, just trying to serve, say whatever needs to be said in the room. It's not even serve. It's like I think it's say whatever needs to be said to get what they want, right? And then I don't care. Like for example, if we wade into this thing called politics for a second, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, right? And since I've been a kid, it's always been about we got to solve abortion, we got to solve immigration, we got to solve the economy, right? I don't care what side of the aisle you on. Everyone talks about the same thing, and nothing ever happens. And it comes on the other side, and the next 4 years later, we're having the exact same conversation, right? And they're saying exactly what we want to hear, whatever side of the aisle I'm on, right? And then rinse, repeat, right? It's so, I totally get that, and I think that's now somehow become more prevalent, as you mentioned. So instead of our legacy, I think it's important that we protect that.
It's impressive, actually, how circular they can make this. And at a certain point, going back to genuine, whether you're left or right or center or whatever, you can tell that they really don't actually care. They're just trying to perpetuate their own agenda. And that's, instead of just saying, hey, I'm perpetuating my own agenda, they just, they keep going down these rabbit holes.
I wonder how many votes they would get if they said that. Look, I'm here for myself. Vote for me.
I mean, some of them do, actually.
But we digress. So you went down this path about your business and how to take care of your employees and the humility portion. Where else does humility show up for you, and how what does it look like?
Well, anytime in sports, humility will show up. Especially if you used to be good at something and then like your body gets old and you can no longer be good at this thing. I used to be able to go and run, and play soccer, and I could play 3 or 4 games a night and, be perfectly fine the next day. Now I get through like a half a game. I'm like, man, does anyone have any Advil? Right. So from that perspective, I'm not saying hang up the boots, but you have to understand that you're in a different spot. You're evolved. You've evolved, right? Yoda is like often attributed to the smartest guy ever, right? Like from any movie, like Yoda, he's obviously smart, right? No one ever called him like Usain Bolt fast. He's not the fastest guy in the play. He's known for being the smartest guy. It's because he evolved. He's old, his soul is old. His knowledge, he's slowed down, right? He'd probably give you a quote on that I don't have right now. But
part of your humility, right?
He'd probably say, "Wise am I, fast I am not," or something like that, right?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So instead of humility, now you're going to acceptance, like the ability to accept where you are and what's going on around you. Instead of humility.
I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do, but I think they're different. I don't know that I don't know if I can access acceptance without humility.
Yeah,
like I can't be arrogant and accept things. I don't think that's possible.
No, you can't do that.
So I think humility is the road to acceptance.
Yeah.
And how much pain and suffering do we deal with in our lives because we choose to suffer because we won't accept what's happened around us? Like, it shouldn't be that way. It should be this way. Right.
I think half of that is that, and the other half is just not letting things go. You ever hear of I use this in my marriage a lot. I'm looking to make sure my wife doesn't come in and hit me or something. But this is not the hill I'm going to die on. That's this is being able to move on from, like, hey, you have a difference of opinion and you just need to move forward, right? A lot of people have a hard time with that, right?
I think it comes down to how you started this podcast, and from kindness, right? Kindness and people lead versus the transaction versus the business part of it. I mean, you could swap out the business part with being right or getting my way even, and then determine that being kind and human being and being love, right, comes first before getting my way, quote unquote. Same with like a business transaction. If I get this transaction or not, I still get to be kind and really appreciate that person I'm with and enjoy that moment, regardless of what happens. So
whether you're making money on a deal or not, are you still going to complete the deal and the customer's going to be very happy, right? Us, we're like, I've never walked away from a deal, even if someone's been incredibly rude, we're still like, okay, we're going to be professional, we're going to fix it, we're going to get things done, right? Whether it's their problem or our problem, who cares? Why you have to be rude, right? That's not really fitting our values. And we actually didn't work with the person again. We completed it. They were very happy that we completed it, and we solved their issue. And then we said, no, we don't want to work with you. Sorry. Moved on. But
yeah, so and that's another interesting thing you bring up, right? Is, am I gonna in any given situation, am I gonna approach it from my values, or am I gonna change my values based on the situation or the person I'm dealing with and work from their values, right? I think that's a huge part of the bigger game. Is, do I stay true to my values? Well, he didn't invite me, so I'm not going to invite him, right? It's like all this, anything in that genre, right? He was rude to me, so I'm not going to complete that job for him, or I'm going to get rude right back. Who knows, right? No, we're going to finish the job. We'll do what we want, and then we'll be true to ourselves and determine that after it's all over, we're not going to work with this person because it doesn't fit our values.
Correct.
They'll still be friends, still hang out and get coffee, do whatever you're going to do, and may never work together again.
Yeah, I have, one of my best friends stood up in my wedding. I stood up in his. We don't work together, right? Because he often treats his employees badly. And that's it. Reflects back. We're just like, hey, we have a difference of opinion. Love the guy to death. Will not work with him. That's.
Yeah, I learned that in college. We were talking about roommates, right? I don't know about you, but I roomed blind when I went to college. And it became apparent to me, I went through this process. A buddy and I were talking, and it was like, there's people that you can room with that can't be friends with. And there's people that you can be, friends with and room with, right? All three variations, right? All the variations, and they're not connected. Same way, you can hang out with somebody and never do business with them. You can do business with them and never hang out with them. It's like all this, they are exclusive.
This is like the Chinese restaurant when you go and they have those placemats and right. I'm an ox, right? I'm not compatible with the scorpion, right? You know what I'm talking about? How they have the.
I am. I remember those mats. I haven't seen those mats in a while, but I've seen them growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, like this is how I feel about this conversation. Is sometimes people you go back. I wonder if you did like a long-term study if those mats had any relevance to real reality, but yeah. In my head, that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, okay, well, he's kind of, he's obviously the bull and I'm the ox over here, and the bull and the ox can't be in the same room together, right?
Right. So, only in the China shop. Maybe out on the soccer field it works. Who knows? They'll figure it out, right?
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So you've taken us down quite a journey today, Brian. Thanks for sharing all those nuggets from humility, acceptance, values, culture, kindness to start with and end with. I think that's all been fantastic stuff. Bring us home. Is there anything you want to give us as takeaways or anything like that?
Well, coming from my professional side, be careful with AI. I'm not the first person to say that, but whether you're a lot of people in the world use Google and Microsoft, and we think these companies are good, but they're not inherently good, right? Microsoft and especially Google, they watch over you. They know you almost better than you know yourself, in a way. So if you think that's version 1 of technology, AI is version 2 of that, right? And that's pretty scary to me, and that's a warning to all. This is here, it's scary. It's scary what it can do. It's scary where it's going to go. So.
And on the personal side?
Oh, just get over it.
Great way to leave it. Great way to leave it. Just get over it.
It's like, just do it, but just.
A good friend of mine, his father passed, and one of the last things he told his son before he passed was, boy, I'm drawing a blank. I had it right in front of me. Right? Work it out.
Work it out.
Work it out.
I mean,
same thing. Let it go. Work it out. So it reminded me
of. If you say let it go, you're gonna have a bunch of sub 15-year-old girls singing every time you say let it go. So that's why it's important to get over. I got an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old or 3-year-old. Yeah, if I say let it go, no matter what, they're in a dance party in their heads, and you can't have a serious conversation and say let it go anymore. So.
Well, I guess that's part of the kindness conversation now, isn't it? Having your daughters in that state of mind. That's excellent. All right. How do people reach out to you, Brian, if they want to connect with you and want to talk further?
Yeah, I have a really simple email address. If you're watching this podcast, I'm going to give you my personal email address. It's Brian, BRIAN, at IamHernandez.com. So Brian at IamHernandez.com.
Yeah, look at that. You are Hernandez after all.
I am, yes.
You are Hernandez after all. Thanks, Brian, for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and just share a little bit of your wisdom with all of us. We're much richer for it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.